All right. Let me see here. It's very impromptu live. However, let's bring it in for the real thing here. What's up? Beth Hammer has questions. Hopefully not for me, because I won't have those answers. Good morning. How are you guys? Let me see. So I don't know how many of you have been watching the trial. I'm assuming a large majority or a big portion of people have been watching this trial. And it's unlike anything, any trial, any story that I've really ever seen. It has a little bit of everything, not in a good way, mostly in a bad way. The trail of destruction that Alex, the names bother me, but the trail of destruction that this man has left is biblical. All the family that he has affected, the friends, it's baffling to me to think that for some reason, somehow, some way, he thought that he was going to get away with all of this. And he was obviously willing. He was obviously willing to do anything, allegedly anything, to make sure that that was the plan. He has done everything wrong. It's unbelievable the stuff that the stuff that he's not only accused of, but has admitted to, the meddling and the possible extortion and murder, for that matter. Josh, because they want, I don't know. You would think that they would need a change of venue. But I don't know. I don't know why they didn't either. I would have asked for a change of venue. But he hasn't. And they'd have to go like across the country. I don't know. These people are very prominent and everybody knows them. And so, good luck. Good luck with all that. But first of all, I cannot believe that he took the stand. I'm shocked. I'm baffled. That must be. Well, let me see here. Hold on now. Let's see if I can put this up on the screen. Hold on, Papa. Where are we here? LJ says, I haven't been here in a while. Just wanted to pop and say hello. Got to warm up my car and head out. Have a good day. LJ. Good to see you. Thank you. He's a very tricky guy. The prosecution is doing I believe they are doing a good job too. Turn this closed captioning off here. What's up, Phil? His oldest son testified, and he is in support of Daddy-O, which is impressive because all the evidence is pointing to this man right here. And I for a minute, and I am rarely this way, but I for a minute thought that there was some reasonable doubt because I could not. I say this all the time that I don't think like motive really matters in cases for the most part. I mean, it's helpful. Like with Brian Koberger, like what was his motive? Well, he's a psycho, weirdo, freako, losero, umero, nuno. You know what I mean? No? And like, that's enough motive for me. But like for somebody to do what he did, you would think that there would be motive, like that somebody would, he wouldn't just do it, because, and so I had problems with that. And I didn't understand. And so I kind of held out there. But lo and behold, the more that I watch of the trial and the testimony and the inconsistencies and stories, the lying, the this, the that, it seems as though, and by the way, when somebody takes the stand like he's doing here, the reason he's taking the stand is because the trial isn't going well for him. That's the only reason to ever testify in your own defense, except if you're somebody exactly like Alex Murdaugh, because he thinks that he can get to one juror, just one. He thinks that he can get to just one. So while they wouldn't want him to testify, he does it anyway. Probably, like I said, I'm sure it was against the wishes of his counsel, which I understand that too. I would, if I was his lawyer, I would say, no, you're not going to testify because you're not credible. And that's a fact. I mean, he's just not credible. And I think that we can all kind of agree that, his credibility is not good. It's never been good, and it was never going to be good because of everything. See, that's what I'm saying. So they're putting character witnesses on the stand, like his best friend of 30 years, his brother is testifying against him. And it's strange because he obviously has some sort of, and I'm going to say this, and I don't want you to jump on me, but like he, the way he talks, he's polite, he's charming, he comes across pretty good. I mean, if you just met this guy and he was talking to you, you would think that he is a somebody, he's a something, he's a this or he's a that. However, he's a scumbag, he's a pile, he's a psycho, he's a alleged killer, he was one kid away from becoming a family annihilator, allegedly. But I'm going to tell you why I think Alex, I'm not even sure what his name is anymore, is cooked. Or should be cooked. That their influence, there could be, I'm worried that there's a juror that's going to either buy this, or they have so much influence there. Still, he's a psychopath. He's a lawyer. He's right. Say, I don't know what he knows how. Let me see here. I'll play a little bit here and.
Started in 1994.
Answer my question, if you would, please, first.
Served until 19.
I certainly have premium. I do not know why.
He was the longest serving prosecutor in the country.
And you knew him obviously well. He was your grandfather, correct?
Oh, I knew him extremely well and loved him dearly.
Idolized him, did you not?
Yes. You know.
So he was the chief
dearly.
prosecutor for all that time as well, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then your father, Mr. Randolph, he became solicitor
No, not all
after
that.
that, is that correct?
No.
When my grandfather retired, because you weren't allowed to be solicitor after age 72, my dad took
But you can be president at 78.
over, filled his unexpired term, and then he ran.
And he became the chief prosecutor for this.
I'm just going to say this really fast. If you have a minimum running age for like president, which is 35, like we got to cap it at like 65. I think that's in the best interest of everybody. And I don't even care who you like or don't like. I'm
This
just
area
saying.
right here as well?
Yes, sir.
And how long was he solicitor?
From 1986 until 2006.
Until 2006?
Yes, sir.
I actually worked a case with him about a guy who killed a trooper.
He's a fine man.
Yes, he
And
was.
an excellent lawyer.
Yes, he was. And he was an excellent lawyer, right?
Yes, sir.
That's a big part of your family legacy and your heritage that's so ingrained around here, is that history of being the chief prosecutor and being part of the central part of the legal community. Is that correct? Would you agree with that?
That my family's been a central part of the legal community. Yes, sir. I agree with that.
And not only just a central part of the legal community, but the chief prosecutor for this area since 1910, I think, up until 2006?
1920
1920?
to 2006. 1910 is when my great-grandfather started the law firm.
The law firm.
Yes, sir.
All right, so 1920 to 2006, correct?
Suzanne.
And then Brother Shane.
I saw your
chief
message too
prosecutor,
on Instagram.
And then you went to law school as well, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And when did you graduate from law school?
1994.
1994. And did you ever become a full-time solicitor?
No, sir.
And so you went into private practice, I think, with Moss & Kuhn, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then you
1994.
went to the former law firm that no longer exists because of your activities, right?
I started in.
And I like how he throws it in there. He's like, and that 110-year-old law firm that doesn't exist because you're a piece of crap. Is that right? Yeah.
Would please first.
What was your question?
My question was that you started first with Moss & Kuhn. Go ahead and answer that one.
Yes, that's correct.
And then you went to the law firm that doesn't exist anymore, that started in 19, but it doesn't exist anymore because of your activities, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
And
I'm a pile.
as part of that of your practice, you were a trial lawyer, correct?
That's correct.
Successful trial lawyer.
I don't know about your adjective, but I was, I guess so. Yes, sir.
Did you make millions of dollars in legal fees?
Yes, sir.
So here, to me, this is his strategy. I'm going to be as honest as I can about all my financial crimes and misdeeds and in the millions and millions of dollars. And I'm going to say all of that is like, I got no problem admitting my wrongdoings. And the reason is because he's basically dead to rights. The walls had closed in around him and everybody knew that he had been doing this and not necessarily getting away with it, but all the stuff was starting to come to light. So he's going to get up on the stand and tell everybody how bad of a person he is, but I didn't kill my family. I know. I don't have a membership link for an iPhone. I didn't know that was a thing. But I feel bad about that now. You stole from a... But yeah, so anyway... He does, Connie. He throws in digs. This prosecutor throws in digs and kind of just tries to get under his skin a little bit. But Alec is he's a lawyer. And by the way, a very good, seasoned lawyer. Whether you like him or not, you hate him, which obviously not. I'd be tough to like this guy. For anybody to like him, but whether you think he's guilty, innocent, piece of crap, good dad, whatever, he's a good lawyer, and he's been a good lawyer for a really long time, and he's tried a lot of cases. He's slick, he's smart, he's not dumb by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. So the trial's not going well for him. He wants to get up there and basically and he's like, I'm going to admit to all these things that I've done wrong, but I didn't kill my family. So that's what was going to happen. That was his whole plan. But he has to get up there and show his personality or his good side, his soft side, his meek side. And when the prosecution asks him questions, all he really does is they're very easy questions to answer. They're yes and no questions, but he's incapable of answering yes or no. And the reason that he's incapable of it is because he's got to show the jury his personality, his humbleness, his how he regrets hurting his clients and friends and family and my pill addiction and anything else besides him being a murderer. That's a bridge just too far for him to even admit to. He'll never admit to it. He'll never accept responsibility for it, even if he's found guilty. But there's so many mistakes that's things that point to him in an unfavorable Yeah, I slept a little bit. No. Have I slept? Nah, I haven't slept yet. I was actually working on a video and I had finished. And just wasn't really that tired. And then I wanted to talk about this case at some point. So I figured that 2 a.m. was a good idea. But, you know, people on the West Coast are waking up. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Lab Man Radio here on YouTube. Enjoy your Tuesday drive. Chill out with the Lab. He chose the kennels outdoors so he could blame someone else, in my opinion, allegedly.
But you won't tell this jury that's successful.
Well, if that's the criteria, yes, sir, I was successful.
Well, you won cases, correct?
I did win cases.
Settled cases?
Sure, I settled cases.
Heard your former law partner say that you were a successful lawyer?
I did hear some of them say that.
What am I doing wrong? I'm putting my blood, sweat, and tears.
I think you even became president of the Trial Lawyers Association, is that right?
That's correct.
And when was that?
Do I think it was planned or spontaneous? I think because he was being confronted that the day of the murders and everything was starting to come out, I think that this at some point had to be planned, but maybe it wasn't exactly for that day, but that this was somewhat planned. But yes, I think it was part of his plan. I think he's a pile. And gross.
I'm not sure of the exact year, but
And he just picked his nose. And that's a fact. He tried to go outside, but it was an outside scratchy, but he went a little in too far. Thank you. Oh, cool. But he did.
that's correct.
And when was that?
I'm not sure of the exact
Oh,
year,
man.
but it would have been,
He attacked that bad
Make
boy.
millions of dollars in legal fees?
yes, sir.
But you won't tell this jury the success.
It's coming. Just wait for it. Just you wait for it. I did, yeah, it was really good. Yeah. Yeah. Boogie time. Let's go. Here it comes. Get it. Get it, Alex. Do it to it, brother. Hey. Did we pass it? Did we pass it or not? Come on. I'm getting discouraged about this. I mean, I can't believe I got lost in 14 seconds. It's ridiculous.
Trial Lawyers Association, is that right?
That's correct.
Did your former law partners say that you were a successful lawyer?
I did hear some of them say that.
I think you even became president of the Trial Lawyers Association, is that right?
That's correct.
And when was that?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So there it was.
If that's the criteria, yes, sir, I was successful.
Well, you won cases, correct?
I did win cases.
Settled cases?
Sure, I settled cases.
Heard your former law partners say that you were a successful lawyer?
I did hear some of them say that.
I think you even became president of the Trial Lawyers Association.
Here we go. Here it comes. Here it comes. The picking of the nose. He's in there deep. Oh, I was on the outside, but I just remembered that this is a nationally televised trial. And he's picking his nose on the stand. My God. Disgusting. Here he goes. Okay, so that like right there, who's he fooling? Not fooling me. That's broached if I've ever seen it. He's in, like Flynn. Okay, enough of that.
Sure the exact year, but it would have been
Maybe he's in
in
nervous.
the 2015 range, 2014, 15, 16, somewhere in there.
And in that role, you were kind of the president of the Association of People Who Do Trial Plaintiffs' Work, right?
Yes, sir.
Who do jury trials.
Well, yeah, welcome to Lab Rat Beginner.
Well, I mean,
That's part of it, right?
yes, sir. That's part of it.
It's part of it. Sitting down, looking jurors in the eyes, and giving a closing argument. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And what kind of cases did you normally do? Just generally what subject matter?
I did all kinds of cases. I did cases that, I mean, I handled some very big cases.
So here's where it's really bad for him. Obviously, him saying that he wasn't at the kennels or the murder scene, and he was. The Snapchat is terrible for him. The young man who testified that he heard him on the video, that he was 100% sure that it was him, then admitting that he really was down at the kennels at some point. Then basically, if you heard the testimony of his parents' caretaker basically bribing her for an alibi by offering her, or by insinuating that he was going to help pay for her wedding. The shirt fiasco. I mean, it all points to one person, but then knowing that that civil case would be settled if his family was killed, I mean, they wouldn't continue with a civil case. And I think that's kind of dirty. So that's your motive.
You know, I had a lot of cases that, I mean, I handled some very big cases. You know, I had a lot of cases where, you know, somebody, their cable company was billing them $20 more than they should have been. And I handled everything from that to the big cases and everything in between.
All right, so the big cases, tell me about those. Those were typically plaintiff's work, all plaintiff's work, correct, for your big cases?
Yes.
Okay. And plaintiff's work is where, or there would be, say, for example, automobile or truck accidents, correct? Was that some of it?
Every big case I ever had was all.
Yeah, the boat accident. I mean, it was an accident, but it wasn't really an accident. Kid was an asshole in that situation, but obviously, like this is how I feel about Paul. Paul should have been held responsible for everything that he did and should have spent significant time in jail. That was it's one of the most reckless things I've seen. And so he should have been in jail, but what his father allegedly did to him and his mother, it's just murder is murder is murder. And, but yeah, Paul was just, he was just a little jerk.
No, and
I don't have much better feelings about Buster either, especially with that young man. All right, take care, Suzanne. There's more. She doesn't have to fight the civil. I think that's part of it, but I think it was him just really trying to gain sympathy and time. But yeah, Paul was costing him money. Buster was there that night. Oh, wasn't there that night. No, I'm not saying that Buster had anything to do with this. I never thought that, but that young man that ended up dead from what they said was a hit and run. Buster was all through that. I mean, that to me, I think was something, and that is something that really does need to be looked into. Paul tarnished the Murdaugh name. Yeah, I think so. Yes, the young boy. Paul was taking his drugs. Yeah. I agree with that.
I mean, no, sir. Not all of them were automobile wrecks.
Were many of them?
Sure.
All right.
Really the purpose.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard.
Hi, Dana.
So excited to announce that.
Hi, Dana.
Being an assistant solicitor was get to spend time with him, do things with him.
Sure. And you, 5 jury trials over all that time, but you had a badge that entire time, is that correct?
I had a badge for a big part of that time, yes, sir.
You actually had 2 badges, right?
I had 1 badge, but
The badge
when
thing
my
is
granddad became
hilarious.
An assistant solicitor for my.
I mean, was that? I'm still confused on it, since he was the volunteer, like Dwight Schrute from The Office when he was he was a volunteer for the sheriff's department, and he was like the volunteer solicitor. That wasn't his badge, was it? That was his dad's. Like that, his name wasn't on there.
When my dad became the solicitor, he had an assistant solicitor's badge.
Right.
When he passed away, I had his badge, and that was at some point in time you were asking somebody about 2 badges, and that was the other badge.
I got you.
Okay, wait.
You said you did 5
Assistant solicitor for my dad.
all that time, but you,
Really, the purpose of me being assistant solicitor was get to spend time with him, do things with him.
sure. And you, 5 jury trials over all that time, but you had a badge that entire time, is that correct?
I had a badge for a big part of that time, yes.
It's like the badge that Woody on Toy Story wears.
Sir.
You actually had 2 badges, right?
I had 1 badge, but when my granddad became an assistant solicitor for my dad, when my dad became the solicitor, he had an assistant solicitor's badge.
Right.
When he passed away, I had his badge, and that was one of, at some point in time you were asking somebody about 2 badges, and that was the other badge.
I got you.
The blue lights. Oh, crap.
Murdaugh, Murdaugh.
What did I do? That sucked. What happened there?
Cross-examination.
Police court.
Local law enforcement involved, assisted in those. Some plea, but
But then in the course of the trial, all of a sudden came up and said, you know what, we found something, and that's the reason why it arrived late. You're saying you don't know anything about that after talking to this jury about that?
I don't know a single thing about that. I know that y'all represented that to the court, and I don't have any reason to doubt it.
Good.
But I don't.
And you would agree that that's generally consistent with the telemetry data that the FBI did, correct? The OnStar data.
The OnStar, I think the OnStar data and the telemetry data are totally different.
All right, you don't think they're generally consistent with one another? Is that what you're telling this jury?
No, I'm not telling the jury anything about that. I'm just
So this is where he does come across good, sort of, kind of.
saying you
But he's very good at like not just twisting, but sort of bending and you know, I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm not saying that, but at the same time, I'm not telling the jury not to believe it, but to believe it. You know,
do I think they're consistent? I think the OnStar data tells gives you one set of
I think when I was hog hunting once, one of them boar, he came up and tried to get me right in the keister, and I shot him.
information, and the telemetry data gives you another set of information.
Okay. But you don't think they're consistent? I mean, you talked about it to this jury. I think we're struggling on what seems to be a fairly simple point. Don't you agree?
No, he doesn't agree.
Ms. Waters, I'm just trying to answer your question,
All right.
and so I'm not trying to be difficult. I just
Oh, yes, you are.
my understanding of what you're referring to as the telemetry data is when a car goes into park
This is what happens when a lawyer questions another lawyer.
and drive and that sort of thing. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
And the GPS information is telling you where a vehicle is on a certain path
Correct.
and what direction it's going.
I think so too.
So I think that they're just two different types of information.
The question was, were they consistent with one another?
I guess so. I don't think they contradict each other.
All right. Thank you. All right.
So they are similar, Alex? Yeah, I think so.
You were the breadwinner for your family, correct?
We used to go squirrel hunting, and sometimes we would just only wear as our underwear so they couldn't get the scent off of our T-shirts and pants. And when we would do that, sometimes we would just flog each other with sticks in the boonies.
Your immediate family.
Yes.
And that included, obviously, for Maggie, correct?
I'm sorry?
That included for Maggie, correct?
Absolutely.
And in large measure for Buster and Paul as well. Would you agree with that?
that I was the breadwinner.
The primary
large
breadwinner.
measure?
Oh, yeah.
No, I was their source of.
I was the fat back to their biking. You understand?
Was the source of income for Maggie, Buster, and Paul.
Maggie, Buster, and Paul.
Okay.
I mean, I guess as they got older, there's some point where Buster had a job, but
Yeah, he was castrating bulls with his bare hands. He's a real tough boy.
I mean, I would still consider myself
Welcome, new members.
the provider for them at that time.
Again, there's no trick here. I'm just trying to ask a simple question.
Mr. Waters, I don't think that was a trick.
Okay.
So,
All right. So you were the primary breadwinner. We can agree on that.
yes,
correct?
sir.
Go ahead. Give me 1 second.
Oh, it doesn't drive me nuts. Paw. I know.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as
Yeah,
State
Buster had a
570.
job.
If you recognize this particular item, you can go ahead and take it out of the bag.
Oh, here we go with the badge. I love the badge.
All right, sir.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
It's 571.
I know what that is. That's the badge that my daddy gave me.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then I'm going to show you what was in the bag in 570. Can you tell me what that is?
I can.
All right. What is that?
Which one?
570. What is that?
All right. 571 is
There, you see this? I'm going to distract you with this, and then I'm going to punch you in the face with my left hand. Don't ever talk about me like that again.
what I would consider to be my badge.
All right. And then what is this one right here, which is 570?
Neither one of them are his badges.
Okay, 570 would be the one I told you about, was my grandfather's badge after he retired, when he became an assistant for my dad.
Your Honor, this time I'd offer states 571 and 570 in the evidence.
Yeah, I admit it.
All right.
Yeah.
Where did you keep 570, the one that was your grandfather's?
He's like, shit. Please don't ask me that. Be the bean. No, man, I'm not. Look, there's no reason to attack you for that. Look, you're not the only person. There are people out there. I just think that he lied about being at the kennels just a few minutes before the murders. So there's that. But there's a few things. But no, nobody's going to attack you for that.
It didn't have a single place that it was kept.
It was just front and center, so everybody could see that my granddaddy was the Solicitor General, and I could do whatever. You see my blue lights?
Recovered by law enforcement?
No, sir.
Would you dispute if it was recovered out of the Mercedes you were driving on September 4th, the day of the side of the road incident?
No, I believe that.
Yeah, the Elmo, please.
Let's not forget that this guy got shot in the head and was rather calm about it, bleeding from his head. It's like, I just got shot in the head and I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding a little bit, but I'm all right. I can't drive, but I got shot in the head driving down this old country road. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. My cousin shot me in the dome piece, but I lived, and now I'm going on trial.
Now on the screen, please.
Welcome, new members.
And 571.
By golly, I think, Mr. Waters, I just got shot in the head.
Where'd you keep this one?
Usually in my car.
Where in your car?
It
You don't want to know where I kept it.
could be all of it. Could be on the dash, like you were talking to Mark Ball
I plead the fifth.
all about. It could be in the center console. It could be in the cup holder. It could be on the seat. Usually in the front seat, but in my car.
Sometimes I push it into my forehead as hard as I can, see if it'll stick there, and usually I get a really cool little outline of a Solicitor General badge. Sometimes it's there.
Is where I tried to keep it.
And when you had it in your dash, would you have it face up or face down?
I mean, that, he knows where he's going with this.
I didn't have any particular
Sometimes it'd be face up, but it depended if it was a leap year and if Groundhog's Day, 6 more weeks of winter.
manner in which I stored it anywhere.
There was no rhyme or reason to it, is what you're telling the jury?
Look how he's holding that thing. Do you know what you did with this badge? Blah, 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 blah.
How you had it in the dash?
There may be occasions where I had it in the dash for some particular reason, but there were a lot of times where it probably was in the dash for no particular reason other than that's where I put it. Just like I might put it on the seat or in the cup holder.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is that the whole video's out there on 10 different platforms at least, and you can watch it all the way through and you won't hear my voice in one of them, but here on the lab with the lab man, that's what you're gonna get.
You said there were particular reasons why you might put it in the dash. What would those reasons be?
Man, it could be any number of things. If I'm going somewhere,
Sometimes I use it as a sun visor, depending on how hot it is outside.
where I want somebody to see it, then I would put it in the dash. If there's another reason for somebody to see it, like for instance, if I get pulled over, I might have it in the cup holder so an officer could see it when he walked up.
Objection.
And why would you do that? Why would you have it in the cup holder? You're not saying you were on official business, are you?
No, I'm not saying I'm on official business.
Why would you want it in a cup holder if you got pulled over?
So I didn't get a ticket and they would leave me alone.
Because I've found that law enforcement oftentimes is friendlier when you're in law enforcement.
When you're law enforcement. So you considered yourself law enforcement?
No, sir, I can't say that I considered myself law enforcement.
Well, you carried a badge on you as an assistant solicitor for 2 decades, roughly?
From
Sometimes-
around 98, so
is that
yes, sir,
correct?
for 2 decades.
Nicole, I don't know if you consider circumstantial evidence, but there is evidence that points in his direction in a major way. I'm just saying. I mean, lying about being at the kennels is a major problem for him. Being on a Snapchat just a couple minutes before the murders is a major problem for him. He's a liar. He's this, he's that. But I mean, he's lied about crucial things. So circumstantial evidence under the law is good evidence.
Gates.
Oh yes, ma'am. I'm very correct. So I'm not really sure what you're saying.
And you would ride with it, sometimes sitting in the front dash facing out, correct?
That's correct.
And you would put it in the cup holder so that law enforcement would see you if you got pulled over, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so, but you didn't consider yourself law enforcement?
I personally didn't consider myself to be law enforcement, no, sir.
All right, so you were just using having this badge to your advantage and taking license with it, is that correct?
I guess in some circumstances that is accurate.
See if you could use it to get away with something, correct? Get better treatment if you got pulled over.
Get better treatment if I got.
Show me the rifle. Show me the blood. Oh, you mean the one that they never recovered, or the shirt they never recovered from his? Any real evidence? Right. Like I said, if you don't understand circumstantial evidence, then I can't help you.
Got pulled over. I mean, that's probably a fair statement.
Okay.
That, yeah, if somebody in law enforcement saw that, yeah, I'd say that's true.
Oh yeah, people never.
You have to
You're right, Nicole. People never kill their family members. You're right. It's just it's asinine.
take an oath when you got that badge?
No, sir.
You didn't?
Not that I remember. I don't. I certainly don't recall taking one, like going somewhere and raising my hand.
Raising your
and,
hand and saying, I promise to do my duty fairly and with integrity. You never had to do that?
Mr. Waters, if I did, I sure don't recall it. I mean, it was a very informal process when I became volunteer assistant solicitor for my dad. And then when I continued with...
Well, I mean, why does he do anything, Nicole? Why does he do anything? The guy literally tried... Have you ever been a victim of murder? Yes, I actually have. Don't tell me, you jerk, if you've never been through a real murder court hearing. Actually, I have. Yeah, I have. You jerk. I actually have. Now that you mention it, it's all coming back to me now. Holy crap. You're right. Yeah, you're right. I forgot all about it. Money is not a reason to kill anybody. It's never been a motive ever. You're right. Never. And obviously you don't understand circumstantial evidence, but that's okay. That's why you'll never get on a jury.
Duffy. I mean, at some point,
and you probably want to be.
you know, if I took any oath at all that I can remember, it would be on.
I don't think I've never seen Nicole before, so I don't even know. But yeah, I don't think she knows.
On
But I don't
some
care
paper
either.
that I may have had to sign, but I don't specifically remember doing that.
All right. Well, let's talk about it. Let's go back to 571.
Let's not.
And on the inside of it, what are those right there? Are those an ID card with your picture on it?
Yes, sir, that is.
Right.
There's a lot of
At
motive.
the top, on that top, leave it in there if you would, please. Can you not see it?
I can, but I was just going to see what's on the back. All right, sir.
Can I have my
It's got your
badge?
picture on it, got your name on it?
Yes, sir, that does have my picture and my name.
All right. Go put that one back for me, please.
All right. So you want to
All
look
right.
at this top one?
Look at the top one.
Okay.
What office does it say that you are on that top one right there? Up there at the top.
State of South Carolina Solicitor, the Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit. It says that as Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit, I do hereby certify that, and it has,
Your name.
right? And it has all that data.
What position does it say that you're appointed to?
It says that as Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit, I do certify that Richard A. Murdaugh was on July 1st, 2013, appointed as the Deputy Solicitor of Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton,
He's
Hampton, and
reminiscing.
Jasper counties
Yeah, he is.
in and is authorized to enforce the laws in the 14th Judicial Circuit of South Carolina.
All right, awesome. Can I hold it back?
And it's, yes, sir, signed by Duffy Stone.
Signed by Duffy Stone. So Deputy Solicitor, is that correct?
I was never a deputy solicitor, Mr. Waters. That's what that says, but I've never been a deputy solicitor. Unless deputy solicitor is, I was a volunteer assistant solicitor. And as far as I know,
And that's not the same as whatever the first thing he said. Like he was desperate to be this. I so want to be this deputy assistant to the assistant solicitor general's brother, something.
Sean Thornton has been the only deputy solicitor that Duffy Stone had.
And it's a simple point. It says Deputy Solicitor, but Deputy Solicitor is a higher rank than Assistant Solicitor, correct? To your understanding?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
And that was Sean Thornton. I've never been deputy solicitor, even though that does say that.
All right.
I agree with, and that was signed by Duffy Stone, not by me.
I understand.
Duffy
What was
Stone.
given to you.
I love
That's what was
that.
given to.
I went through this whole long thing at the beginning about
That's
whether or not
my,
you have an association with the law enforcement
That's my next fantasy football name, Duffy Stone.
community, but this was given to you not by your father, but by a successor, correct?
Well, no, sir. I believe we got to this because you were asking me if I took an oath, and I don't remember taking an oath. And then you started asking me about these things.
Okay. And you agree that this card says Deputy Solicitor, right?
I agree that card says deputy solicitor.
All right. Would you agree with me that it says on the back that it is reposing special trust and confidence in your ability, care, prudence, and integrity? Is that what it says on the back of this?
I mean, if you're, no, sir. I mean, I trust, if you're reading that off the back of that, I assume that it does.
That's another thing that he likes to say. I mean, if you're reading it off of there, it does. Well, Alex, it's weird because right here on this piece of paper it says that you're a lying sack of crap, guilty, murdering pile. Do you dispute that? No, sir. If it says it on there, I will not dispute those facts. Jenny, I love you. Oh, I left my piece of gum under this desk. Somewhere.
You were reading off of the one that Duffy Stone gave me, correct?
Yeah, and then the one at the top, where did that one come from?
He's so annoyed. He's so annoyed with him. Look at yeah, dude. So where'd the other one come from? Here he goes. He's all pissed.
You were reading off of the.
Ask him a question. He was just like, I'm already sick of this guy.
The one that Duffy Stone gave me, correct?
Yeah, and then the one at the top, where did that one come from? You want me to bring it back to you?
No, sir. I think I can see it. That
It's
would
not
be.
focused very well.
That's okay. I mean, I know what it is. I looked at it when you handed it to me.
That's my crappy badge.
So the card on the bottom is what I got from Duffy Stone. The one on the top.
Duffy Stone.
The one on the top should give you a better. There we go. All right. So the one on the top was what came from my dad when he was solicitor. The one on the bottom is what came from Duffy Stone when he was solicitor. And Duffy Stone took over after my dad retired in 2000.
And you know, Duffy's like, keep my name out of your mouth, Alec. No more Duffy talk.
6. Duffy Stone filled my dad's the rest of his unexpired 4-year term, much like my dad filled my granddad. So, and then Duffy became the solicitor.
And much like my great-great-granddad did for my great-great-great-great-granddad. Or something like that. I don't even think America was around back then, but he did it.
Did you ever have lights in your vehicle?
I don't know if was he expecting that? Was he expecting? I don't think he was expecting the do you have the lights question.
Particular vehicle?
No.
You know what he's asking you. Do you have damn lights on your car that you're not supposed to have?
Any vehicle? Yes, sir, I did.
Was that a government vehicle?
I know.
No, it was a private vehicle. It was awesome. I had they put these lights on, and I was just driving circles until I get nauseous. I'd get me a big old apple fritter, and I'd just take that down with some milk. And oh my God, I'd drive in circles with those lights just flashing intermittently until I just tossed my biscuits.
No, sir, it was not.
When did you have lights, like blue lights and stuff?
Yes, sir, I had some blue lights.
When did you have blue lights? And let me
Blue's a relative term. Some people see it as blue, but some people see them as green.
remember, you did 5 cases over 20 years. And you had blue lights in your vehicle, but it was your private vehicle, correct?
Well, it was the vehicle that I drove. It was a law firm owned vehicle.
The law firm's own vehicle. So how'd you get blue lights in there?
Well, I ordered them off Amazon and took them down to the garage, and then we had a gay old time smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, and putting my blue lights in.
I had them installed.
And who installed them?
I believe that Eddie Gibson installed them.
And who was that?
He's the guy who apparently does blue light work for most of the sheriff's departments in the 14th Circuit and a lot of the police departments.
And when did you have that installed? Do you recall? Was it one vehicle or more than one vehicle? Let's start with that.
I believe I had blue lights in one vehicle.
And when did you have that installed, do you think?
I'm not sure. It would have been
5 years, 10 years?
No, here I can give you a time frame.
Okay.
The vehicle that I was in on that got taken in on June the 7th, I got that vehicle sometime around late December or January, so I'd had it for 6 months. I would have had the previous vehicle for 5 years. That's how long we kept vehicles in the law firm. So I would have had it for 5 years, and
I was gonna put a spotlight on it, but every time we went hog hunt with Buster, he'd flash us the moon. We got tired of seeing his peach-colored bum.
sometime during that 5-year period, I had lights installed.
Did you ask the sheriff at the time if you could do that?
I did.
Who was that?
I believe it was T.C. Smalls, and I believe in Colleton it was Andy.
Okay, new fantasy football name, T.C. Smalls.
Strickland.
In Colleton, it was Andy Strickland.
And I believe in Allendale it was Tom Carter.
Were you friends with Andy Strickland?
Yeah, I was friends with Andy Strickland.
And you said, hey, I'm going to get some blue lights installed in my vehicle. And he said, that's cool. Or words to that effect.
Cool as a cucumber, my
I
man.
mean, that doesn't sound like the words that he would have used or I would.
It said, all right, all right, all right.
What he used, but I certainly asked him, and he certainly said it was okay.
It was okay. All right.
Along with Sheriff Smalls and
Nobody
I
asked you a
believe
question.
Sheriff Carter. I'm not positive about Sheriff Carter, but I believe so.
I'm going to show you just real quick what's been marked as States 507. See if you recognize that.
Well, so he wanted to be a cop, but it didn't pay enough. So he became an attorney. Like, he wanted to be a cop, but he wanted to make attorney money. A dirty cop.
I believe this is my Suburban. Yeah, this is my
Really?
Suburban.
That's interesting.
That y'all have.
Okay. Does that look like?
On the weekends, I actually worked the fry machine down at the Piggly Wiggly. And actually, sometimes I just sit right under the ice cream machine and I say, Buster, can you pull the hammer for me so I could get that? I could just lay here while the ice cream gets in my mouth because it's so hot outside from hog hunting.
Where your badge was on the day of the incident?
I have no idea.
You don't recall putting it there?
No, but I don't take issue with the fact that it's. I don't take issue with the fact that it's there. If that's if that's
Bus to bus, could you get some sprinkles over here, my man?
how they say it was.
I love
That's the
sprinkles.
picture.
Your Honor, Dr. State
Where are you, Pa? I'm down here on the floor, bust to bust.
States 507 in evidence.
Submit it.
You
Unreal.
testified some about the boat case, and we'll talk more about that later.
Boat case being. I'm sorry.
The boat wreck case. Can we agree that that's what we're talking about when we say the boat case? February in 2019.
Well, there's two things. You referring to the civil case when you say the boat case,
Okay.
but when I think about the boat case, I think about the charges that y'all brought against Pawpaw.
Okay.
So we used to call Peyton Pepe when he was a little boy. And then I think probably around 7, I called him Pepe in front of a bunch of people, and he grabbed me by the throat and said, if you ever call me that again, I will drop you. Never in front of my friends.
So, but there also the civil case.
Paw. That was your nickname for Paul?
I mean, I called him Pawpaw. Maggie called him Pawpaw. Bus calls him Pawpaw.
Bus. So Buster's not even his real name, but like they have a nickname for a nickname.
Sure.
Roro calls him Pawpaw.
Who's Roro? Pawpaw. Mags is cool. Bus to bust. Bust to bust.
I mean, that's
Roro. Who was Roro?
That's Rogan Gibson.
Okay.
Roro. You got his name from that song. You know the song, right? Don't, Mr. Waters? Row your boat gently down the stream.
And this jury, of course, has heard multiple recorded statements of you during the course of this. Did you ever refer to Paul as Paw Paw during that?
I don't know
Do you recall?
how I referred to I can say Paul if you prefer that.
No, you can call him whatever you want. I'm just asking you if you ever called him that during the course of that entire investigation. Or is that also the first time today, at least publicly?
Is today the first time I've called my son Paul Paw Paw? No, sir.
Well, I would certainly hope not.
That is not correct.
Have you ever called him that on all the recorded statements that this jury has heard?
I don't know.
You ever called Rogan Roro?
What's up with this line of questioning? Do you ever recall calling Paul Pawpaw? Or Roland Roro? Bust. I get a bust. That's my boy Bust. Let's go.
And
I
all
called
the
him
recorded
Roro
statements.
all the time.
And
They called the grandpa handsome.
the recorded statements, did you ever call him that?
I don't know. I mean, I called him Rogan also, so I don't know. But
It depends how many oxycotones I had that day. Sometimes all I could get out was Roro. And then sometimes I'd say Roland or Rogan and go, Paul, row your boat gently.
I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul.
We know. You call him what? Paul? You've been calling him that.
But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul.
Paul. Yeah, we know. You've been saying that already.
But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul.
That's what you've been calling him the whole time, isn't it?
But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul.
Paul. We know. We were just wondering if we call him Paul.
But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul. But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul. But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul.
You're happy? Like it makes you happy? We know. You've been calling him Paw the whole time.
All right, well, let's talk about, and I'll be specific with the boat race.
I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul Paul.
All right, well, let's talk about, and I'll be specific with the boat race wreck criminal case and the boat wreck civil case, okay? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
fair?
Yes, sir.
All right. And
Paw.
we've talked a little bit about your badge. Did you have your badge with you on the night of the boat wreck?
Oh, big time, dude. Not only did I have it on me, it was hanging out of my pant pocket accidentally. Yeah. And I went everywhere. I even got into the employees only, and I stole some Oreos out of the pantry.
On the night of the boat wreck, did I have it with me?
Yeah.
Oh, mama.
When?
Did you go to the hospital that night?
Yeah, I'm going to call Macho Mama.
Did you have it with you then?
I don't know, but I don't believe so. But I really
You
don't
don't
know.
believe so?
But
When you went to the hospital on the night of the boat wreck, were you acting in any official capacity?
the night of when I went to the hospital, was I acting
Yeah.
in an official capacity?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay.
A paw paw. Paw paw paw. A paw paw paw. A paw 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 paw. A paw paw paw. A paw paw paw.
69. I'll show you what's been marked as States 569.
Like, I'm not look shaming at all, but he looks exactly like you would think that somebody that's on trial from wherever the frig he's from would look like. And his hair, I've never seen somebody with tang colored hair. I've never seen it. I've seen red, I've seen orange, but I've never seen tang in my life. It looks like tang.
And do you recognize the person on the right in that image?
No, sir.
You don't recognize that?
I don't recognize him.
No, I'm asking about that.
Oh, me?
Is that you?
Yeah, it looks like me.
All right. What's hanging out of your pocket in plain view?
Looks like a badge.
Oh, it doesn't look like a badge. It is.
You didn't recall that until I just showed you that picture?
No, sir, I did not.
Your Honor, it offer states 569 in the evidence. Okay.
Submit it.
That's you in the white shirt, is that right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Great.
And this is the badge hanging out of your pocket. You remember which, is that correct?
Looks to be, yes, sir.
Which badge is that? Which one of the two, do you remember?
No.
Look how he's wearing the badge. That's ridiculous. Who cares about hair color? I mean, I don't know. It's just making a statement. Sorry.
Tell from here.
Okay.
I mean, would anybody ever like do that? Just like, who cares about hair color? Nobody. We're just talking here, guy. Chill.
And why'd you have it hanging out of your pocket like that?
I don't remember having that. No, I don't know.
You don't remember that?
Oh, who cares about hair color? It's Tuesday. I'm mad.
I don't remember that, no, sir.
Did you generally walk around with your badge hanging out of your pocket?
Generally speaking, no, sir, I did not.
Or only when you wanted some advantage from it?
Did I
Did you want some advantage from wearing it like that?
did I hang it out in my pocket when I wanted an advantage?
Did it look
Yes.
like I took it personal?
I may have.
I certainly didn't
I
take it
certainly
personal.
may have.
What advantage did you want
When?
then?
I don't even recall this, Mr. Waters, but
Matter of fact, I took it so personal, I wrote it down in my diary.
if I was wanting some advantage, as you say it, I guess, and I don't remember this, but I guess I would want, as I said, a badge has a warming effect with other law enforcement. And so if I was seeking any advantage, as you say, then I guess that would be what it was.
Did you ever want to be the solicitor?
Now, there was a time period where I did.
No, I just walked around with the badge in my pocket.
Did you ever want to be the solicitor?
Yeah,
the
that
elected
was
solicitor.
There was a time period when I absolutely did.
When was that?
Prior to around the time prior to my dad
I was talking
retiring.
to somebody else.
Prior to 2006?
Yes, sir.
How long did you explore that?
I mean, I wanted to be a solicitor for a long time, but
I got this one, the Cracker Jack
at the
box.
time when my dad retired, I was already struggling with pills, and I knew I couldn't do it.
In 2006?
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk more about the pills in a bit, but you say you were already struggling with pills in 2006, correct?
No, I don't think so.
That's correct.
But over
It's
that
only 3 in the
next
morning here.
15,
It's not like, it's just 3 in the morning. It's not 6. I'm not on the West Coast. I still got some night.
years, you still were able to maintain a lucrative law practice. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
And you've already testified that all your law partners.
Yeah, I did, Janet. I did see it. Yeah, I mean, that's what this is, of course.
had no idea of this pill problem that you had all that time, correct?
I'm testifying that I believe, in fact, I'm certain that none of my partners knew I had an addiction.
Except right now, because I'm chewing an invisible sandwich.
That night of the boat wreck, you say you don't remember putting your badge out, correct?
No, I don't remember. I don't even remember having my badge.
Do you remember going around talking to the kids, the other kids that were on the boat?
Yeah, I talked to some of them.
You remember going to do that?
Yes.
And was your badge hanging out when you did that as well?
Oh, yes.
You know, I wouldn't think so, Mr. Waters, but like I say, I didn't. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So it just
It's been
comes
a rough
naturally to
winter.
put your badge out on something like this that you don't even remember why you did that.
No, I don't even remember having my badge, and I
Totally.
specifically know that I didn't use the badge. You know, did I mean to do this? I'm not saying that I didn't, but I don't know if I was putting it in my pocket and the flap. You know, you notice that that flap is not Velcro down.
You noticed that you saw it. You saw it, you know. Papa had one too. We used to flip them out and go, 1, 2, 3, Solicitor General. Papa. And then Bus would come in and he'd be pissed to the gills because he didn't have his badge.
I don't know. I don't have a specific memory of that, and I never went around, you know, acting like I was on official business.
Bull crap.
So you're
So-
saying it might be an accident that your badge was hanging out there.
I'm saying that I have no memory of that whatsoever.
All right, well, did you ever, you never,
I do wonder, some say he gets off on this. He's done. Like they find him not guilty for some reason, whatever. I mean, isn't he still going to jail for the other stuff that he's done? Like, how much more time is he going to get for those other crimes? Because there's like 90 of them or something like that, isn't there? Like, how long of a prison sentence is he looking at even without being convicted here?
use these badges
1, 2, 3 badge.
as like a wallet, right?
No, I did.
You did?
I did.
So you saying you had your credit cards and all your stuff in there?
No, sir. No, sir.
I kept my lucky sack of Joey coin in there, actually.
I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that on that night. You just asked me if I ever used it as a wallet, and there were times when I used it as a wallet.
Were you using it as a wallet that night?
I don't remember, but I don't think so. I didn't use it as a wallet very often, and I didn't use it as a wallet for very long when I did use it as a wallet.
So let's
And
see.
it wasn't very big because sometimes I'd fold up a piece of pizza in there and from down the road, and I'd put it in there with my badge.
If we can get back to what we agree on. So you would agree that you had to make a conscious decision to grab that badge and when you went into the hospital, correct? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, at some point I had to make a conscious decision to pick it up.
Okay. But you're saying you don't know if you hung it out like that on purpose while you're talking to that law enforcement officer, or if it's just an accident that is hanging out of your pocket in full view of everyone.
Well, I am saying that because that is not how I would normally carry a badge. And even if I wanted to give somebody an impression, to me, that's got kind of an obnoxious look to it. That's just not something that, I mean, that's
It certainly does have an obnoxious look to it. There's no denying that.
not something I would typically do. But I may have done it that night. I have no memory of that.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. That's why he's admitting to embezzlement. Federal prison is better than regular prison. But also, like, I don't think he wants to be known as somebody who, obviously, he doesn't want to be known as somebody who murdered his family. So, but yeah, federal prison is obvious. It is way better. There's no question about that.
All right, so you're saying that just could be an accident that it's hanging out like that?
I'm saying it could be, or I could have put it there like that.
All right.
I don't remember.
Did you generally just walk around with it in your pocket? Or would you only carry it when you wanted to use it for something?
No, I wouldn't generally carry it around in my pocket just any time.
Okay. All right. All right, so we got the badge that may be accidentally hanging out of your pocket. You won't concede that you did that purposefully.
I mean, Mr. Waters, if you want me to say I did that on purpose, I don't have a problem with that. I'm saying I don't remember that. All right? So can I tell you that I did that on purpose?
Yes, you can tell us you did it on purpose because it's very on purpose. I mean, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Of course it was on purpose. Why wouldn't it be on purpose? How would that happen on accident? You'd notice a big shiny badge hanging off your front thigh.
No, sir, I can't. Can I say that this happened by accident? No, sir, I can't. What I can say is I don't remember it.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, before we got there, we was playing cops and robbers, and I was a cop. And I just forgot to tuck it all the way in, Mr. Waters.
And that's not how I would normally, that's just not how I would normally, you know, that's just not, that's not something I did. That's not.
Oh, it's not something you did. You did it. You're doing it. You did it. I mean, what are you talking about? It's there.
A normal thing. So I don't know.
No, it wasn't a normal thing because your son didn't normally just, plow into bridges drunk. So, no, you're right. It's not a normal thing. Let me at him. I'll slice him up.
Okay. All right. That's fine. You won't concede to this jury that there was any intention or purpose to you doing that at the hospital on the night of the boat wreck.
I'm saying I don't remember using that badge.
I don't remember that big hunk of metal hanging out of my pocket.
And I
thought it was my great-great-great-granddaddy, Booster T. Murdaugh the 7th. I thought it was his pocket watch.
specifically remember, I'm sorry, go ahead and you can ask
You specifically remember what?
that when I went into the room with the kids, did I pull my badge out? And I know that I did not do that.
No, because it was on your pocket like that, correct?
It's on my pocket like that right then.
When I needed it the most, because I needed to get into the rooms and tell the kids not to talk, because my son, Pawpaw, was not driving.
Did you use that to get into areas that shouldn't be accessed by non-official personnel?
No, absolutely not. I mean, there was nowhere that I went that,
Mr. Waters, you're going to piss me off.
that was not truly public domain. I mean, basically, the places that I went to were, when I got there, I went to Pawpaw. When I left Pawpaw, I went to Morgan Dowdy, who was like a daughter to Maggie and I, had dated Paul for a long time.
Oh, I'm sure she just felt all kinds of tinglies and love from you guys.
And I went to Morgan. Morgan had an injury to her hand that was bad, and she was very upset about Mallory.
Yeah. Almost everybody was, except for Pawpaw and Alec Murdaugh. It's got 7 names.
And they were working on her, so I left her room. I went back to Pawpaw. At some point in time, I noted I went to Connor's room, and I believe those are the only rooms I went to. But again, I can't tell you that with certainty.
While you were wearing that badge like that, did you tell any of the kids
probably
who were in the
Momo.
boat wreck not to cooperate with law enforcement?
I never told anybody not to cooperate with law enforcement, whether I had a badge hanging out.
Wasn't there a bunch of people that said that he absolutely was telling people not to talk?
My pants, didn't have a badge, any point in time did I tell anybody, don't cooperate with law enforcement.
Did you become aware in March or April or May of 2021, shortly before June, that an investigation into the investigation of that night had begun, as well as your conduct?
Yes, I did learn of that. I don't know the status of that investigation, being that I've been charged with so many things and haven't been charged with that. I'm assuming that there may not be charges.
Whether or not you were aware that that had begun.
When I watched that Netflix special or the documentary, and that Morgan, that young lady, Morgan Pawpaw's ex-girlfriend, I felt really bad for her. I felt bad for everybody that's involved in this, but specifically, I mean, you know, he seemed to not treat her very pleasant. I mean, he was not a nice kid, whatever.
Spring of 2021.
Yes, sir. I was aware. Well, at some point in time, I became aware of it. Was that the spring? Was it, you know, February, March, April? I know it was after.
Exactly.
I know it was after that night, and it was before June 7th.
Before June 7th.
I'm pretty sure that I already knew that.
Did
on June the 7th.
You mentioned Andy Strickland.
Yes,
you know what
he
happened
did.
to him?
Do I know what happened to him when?
How he lost his job? As sheriff?
I believe that when he was charged,
I'm like, that's funny.
I don't know if he resigned or he was suspended.
Okay. Do you remember if that was a few months prior to you becoming aware of an investigation?
Have many of you watched the Netflix special? The very last thing he says on there is to Bus, aka Buster, was, hey, is what did he say? Something about, is Netflix doing something about all this?
Into the investigation of this boat case, including you?
Do I know what
When
now?
Andy Strickland was charged and lost his job, was that a few months prior to you becoming aware of the investigation into this incident that's on the screen?
A few months prior?
Nuts, wasn't it?
I don't really know this for a fact, but I believe, as I'm sitting here today, I believe that Andy was charged back in the fall. And like I said, we learned about when, I've testified about when I understood there was an investigation into whether or not I was acting in a public manner or whatever it was y'all were investigating.
Yeah.
Public corruption or that. So if it was a couple of months, if it was a month or two when Andy Strickland got charged, then if you showed me that, I'd be surprised, because I think he was charged before that.
All right. But this was a friend of yours, correct? The guy who you asked if you could put lights in your car in a private vehicle, correct?
Yes, it was.
Well, I mean, Andy, yeah, I considered Andy a friend. I considered TC a friend, and I considered Tom Carter a friend,
Sure.
all of whom I asked if I could put lights in the vehicle.
I'm going to be Batman for Halloween.
All right. And
So, yes, sir. I mean, I considered Andy a friend.
would you at least agree with me that in at least the fall of 2020, your friend Andy Strickland was indicted and lost his job for a financial and corruption investigation.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
That girl, what's going on? Good to see you.
Response.
Your Honor, I think there's a link between his knowledge of that and what he's admitted that there was an investigation going on in the months prior to the murders.
Anything further?
I mean, the question is something about Andy Strickland being indicted? I just don't see the relevance, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
All right. We can at least agree that you were aware prior to the murders that there was this investigation, correct? The one on the screen. The one related to the boat, the investigation into the boat case.
Was I aware that y'all had started an investigation into what I did in the hospital prior to the June 7th?
Yes.
I believe that to be correct.
All right.
I mean, it's just a yes or no question,
And if
dude.
it wasn't before
No.
that, it was shortly after it.
You testified that you've had a pill addiction for approximately 20 years, correct?
I think that's about.
If that's true, that is an inordinate amount of time. Just
Right?
And so when did you start stealing money from clients? How long did it take before you started doing that?
I'm not sure when the first time I did that is.
You don't know?
No, sir, not
You
as
haven't
we
gone back and thought about that?
Well, sure, I've thought about it, but to be able to sit here, I mean, you got to understand, I've been in rehab and I've been in jail, and I don't have access. You know, all my telephone calls were put on the media, so I haven't had a lot of phone access. I haven't had a lot of access. So as we sit here today, I cannot tell you the exact time. I don't deny that I did it, but I can't tell you the exact time that I first did it.
And you told this jury that's the cause of your financial problems?
Did I say that
Your
Pills
opiate
was-
addiction was the cause of your financial problems?
it was certainly a cause, yes,
A
sir.
cause, not the only cause though, correct?
No, I wouldn't think it was the only cause, but yeah, it was certainly a cause.
You recall testimony in this courtroom about how you had some land deals go bad around the time of the recession in 2008, 2009?
Sure.
And you recall testimony from your law partners in this courtroom that you had some big cases that they thought cured those issues, correct?
I heard them say that, yes, sir.
You disagree with that?
Do I disagree with what they thought? No, I mean, I don't have any
No, do you
reason
disagree if that was true?
that they
do I disagree with what they thought?
thought.
No, dude, that's not what he said.
Partners thought that that I gotten past my financial difficulties. I have no reason to dispute that, Mr. Waters. I'm not
Was
trying to
that
frustrate
true?
you.
Was what they thought
I mean, that just can't be true, right? I mean, he's obviously trying to frustrate him.
true?
He's like one of those kids in class. It's like, Timmy, sit down. You're bugging the whole class. I am not bugging the class. You're always mad at me. Timmy, shut up.
That I was past my financial difficulties? Is that the question?
Yes, that's the question.
Was it true that I was past my financial difficulties? I mean, they were certainly better after that, but I mean, no, I don't think I was past them. No,
Right.
sir.
All right.
Not
What was
Bob.
the first big case after the recession that you had?
Mr. Waters, I can't tell you what the first big case was.
You remember
What date?
All right, well, let's go with the Pinckney case. Do you remember when that was?
I remember generally speaking when it was, yes, sir.
What year was that? 2011? Would you dispute that?
2011, when it ended?
When you got recoveries in that case?
I mean, if you're looking at something that tells me that, I have no reason to dispute that. But
That's another thing that he loves to say. I have no reason to dispute that.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's certainly in the time frame.
It's fine, Mr. Murdaugh. We'll go through it. Let's do it.
Mr. Waters, like I said, I take you at that.
He's so pissed.
To dispute that, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's certainly in the time frame.
It's fine, Mr. Murdaugh. We'll go through it. Let's do it.
Mr. Waters, like I said, I take you at that.
Like, why is he so mad?
I just don't know off the top of my head.
All right.
I don't have a reason to dispute that.
No. He's so mad.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence as states 331. Let's go with, actually,
Oh,
332, 33.
he's been locked up too long. That's just nasty.
3 and 334. Do you recognize those documents?
I don't. For some reason, I'm getting Stuart Little vibes from Mr. Waters.
Just generally, do you recognize them?
I do.
All right, and just generally, what are those? Those are disbursement
I
sheets.
do.
Can I have them back, please?
Yes, sir. Just give me 1 sec.
Yeah, take your time.
I'm trying to see which ones.
He hates him. That was a snot rag. Sick.
I mean, there's some things about it that I'm curious about, but
Yeah, we'll
you
talk
ask
about
the
that.
questions.
We'll talk about that. All right.
You ask the questions. He intends to.
Let's talk about, let's start with Natasha Thomas. Do you remember her?
I do.
How old was she when she became your client?
I'm not sure. She was young.
She was a teenager?
I'm not sure, but I know she was young.
She was underage, correct?
Yes, she was underage. I do believe that.
All right.
In fact, I know that.
And can you tell me what the, she was injured in this wreck with, in an automobile wreck, correct?
Yes.
And the company Michelin, that was one of the defendants.
Fun fact: this
for an alleged
prosecutor
tire
has
issue, is that
prosecuted the
correct?
others.
That is
involved.
correct.
All right. And do you remember how much Natasha Thomas got in
Yeah.
that particular case? And I can show it to you on 334. You remember how much she got?
As a gross settlement, I believe it shows
Yeah.
$2 million.
$2 million. All right. And how much were your or
Yeah.
PMPD's fees that would be attributed to you?
Yeah, he's annoying
in
the way he
out of
does
that
it.
$2 million.
$800,000.
$800,000.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir. All right. And so that would be $800,000 in fees that would get attributed to you. That has nothing to do with the money that you subsequently stole from that teenager.
Yes, he
Correct.
did.
The $800,000 is different from money that I stole?
Yes.
That's correct.
All right. So you got $800,000 attributed to you with the firm, but that was not enough. You also stole money from that teenager. Is that correct?
That's
That
true.
is correct.
All right. When you did that, did you sit down with her, much as you sat down with this jury, and explain to her what was going on while you were stealing her money?
That would be the normal process, but I certainly don't remember specifically doing that.
That would be the normal process, correct?
That would be. It may be a little different with a teenager, but certainly, I mean,
You would sit down with them across the table and go through these documents, correct?
if that would not be abnormal, yes, sir.
All right. And then you would you would explain to them what was going on.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
And how they were getting everything they were entitled to, correct?
If I was the one doing it, yes, sir.
And you would look them in the eye while you did that, correct?
It wouldn't be unusual for me to look them in the eye.
While you were doing some fast talking to a teenager, correct?
As opposed to staring at their forehead for hours upon hours. Sometimes I do look people in the eye, but sometimes I stare at their nose, their chin, the forehead, the ears, but there's been a time or two when I looked in someone's eye.
I certainly was not telling her the truth. I don't know if I was talking fast or slow, but I wasn't telling the truth.
All right. Well, you ultimately convinced her that there was nothing amiss here, right? While you were
Nothing.
stealing her money, correct?
I don't know if I convinced her that nothing was amiss or I misled her, but I admit candidly in all of these cases, Mr. Waters, that I took money that was not mine and I shouldn't have done it. I hate the fact that I did it. I'm embarrassed by it. I'm embarrassed for my son. I'm embarrassed for my family. And I don't dispute that I did it.
Well, if they have two good working eyes, I kind of just, you know, how you scan the road, just a little back and forth, back and forth. That's what I would do, Mr. Waters. Sometimes I would stare at their face, but then I would stare at the good eye. The lazy one, you don't have to pay much attention to. But every now and then you do want to scan over just to see if that bad boy has came back off the leash.
I understand that. But
And
you
so-
understand that we have to ask about these things because we've heard about it in a very academic paperwork manner. But every single one of these, you had to sit down and look somebody in the eye and convince them
Just the one eye, Mr. Waters. That's it.
that you were on their side when you were not, correct? That's what you did in every single one of these.
I mean, every time.
Answer my question, yes or no, and then you can explain. I'll let you explain all day long.
Well, I mean, no, sir, that may or may not be true. And Mr. Waters, just to try to get through this quicker, I
I
admit
know you want to get through it quicker, but we're not. So answer the question, please.
what I
I mean, that's about as contentious as it gets in a courtroom. Basically saying, yeah, dude, how many of these do you want to ask me about, you dick?
admit is that I misled them, I did wrong, and that I stole their money. Now, this is something, what's the date on that one?
September 11th,
I'll bring it back to you.
2011.
Well, you can tell me. I trust you to tell me accurately.
All right. Well, yeah, it's kind of funny. It doesn't have the date on it, but I'll let you take a look at it.
I'm just
Oh, Mr. Waters, this is a Xerox copy of your bum. Why would you do that to me?
looking at the date of a check. So that's December 20. So that goes 2011. So that gives us a ballpark. So that's 12 years ago. For me to sit here and tell you specifically that I remember sitting down and talking with Natasha Thomas, I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you, and I can tell you that I didn't
I can tell you I didn't appreciate the Xerox copy of your bum.
do right by Natasha Thomas. I took money from Natasha Thomas that didn't belong to me, and I was wrong for doing that.
Right, we know.
And I admit that.
And I know, Mr. Murdaugh, that you would like for it just to be as simple as that, just to say, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I stole money, and have that be the end of it. But in every single one of these cases,
To the comment, Your Honor.
you just testified that you would like to just admit that. And make this quick, correct? Isn't that what you said? Isn't that what you implied?
No, sir, Mr. Waters.
3:30
You have charged me
a.m.
with murdering my wife and my son, and I have sat here for all these weeks listening to all this financial stuff that I did wrong, that I'm embarrassed by. I'm happy to talk to you about as much of that as you want to talk about. I'm required to talk about it as much as you want to talk about it. But the fact is I cannot specifically remember sitting down, the details that you're asking me for, I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that in all these financial situations, I stole money that was not my money. I misled people that I shouldn't have misled, and I did wrong. I can tell you that.
But
And I may be able to tell you specifically, in some instances, what I did or didn't do.
All right, well, good. Well, we'll do that. But the point that I'm asking you is,
let's see. Vet Girl says he's very strategic here. He admitted to drug-related criminal activity as an addict. Carolina treatment. Drug court. Something to look up. Yeah. Oh yeah. He knows what he's doing.
It's not just as simple as some paperwork. You had to sit down and deal with these people and convince them that you were telling them the truth in order to steal this money, correct?
That may not be true, because in some situations, I may not have had to do that. They may have just trusted me to do it.
Okay.
So that's my point, is I misled them. There's no question about that. But did I sit down in each particular instance and like you're breaking it down step by step? I can't say that. I can say I did wrong, I stole money that wasn't mine, and I shouldn't have done it.
All right.
And it was terrible what I did.
All right, well, let's look at States 330. This is
But I didn't kill my family.
Arthur Badger in the EPS case, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Do you remember what the total recovery was in that particular case? There were multiple plaintiffs. Let me ask you that first. There were multiple plaintiffs in that case, correct?
That's correct.
And do you remember what the total recovery was in that case?
Not exactly, but I mean, I know generally.
All right. Was it $12 million? Would you disagree with that?
Is it $12 million? I mean, if you tell me it was $12
That's true,
million,
Lex. I believe
you,
I
but
agree
thought
with
it was
that.
a little bit more than that.
All right. And if ultimately, if you have multiple plaintiffs, how do you decide as the plaintiff's lawyer, or how does it work out that amounts of that total recovery get allocated to individual plaintiffs?
I mean, different cases are different ways.
Is it true that often the defense attorneys, the civil defense attorneys, will ask the plaintiff's attorneys how you want that allocated?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. Sure. Is that what happened in this case? In the Badger case?
I can't remember exactly how we came to that.
Who was the deep pocket in the Badger case? Do you remember? The defendant that had the money that you ultimately recovered from, the vast majority. Do you remember?
Well, it was UPS, and I believe it was, I can't remember if it was corporate or if there was insurance, but it was certainly UPS was the major defendant.
Okay.
But I believe Arthur Badger was a defendant. I can't remember. I know UPS was.
Did you sit down with him and explain this paperwork that you were using to steal his money?
I believe I did sit down with Arthur Badger.
And managed to convince him that nothing was amiss while at the same time stealing money?
I believe I did.
And did you allocate millions of dollars to Arthur Badger personally while only telling him that his recovery was going to be around $300,000?
I believe that I did, yes, sir.
And on this exhibit, 330 sat down and looked him in the eye with all this stuff on here and fast talked him past these figures so that he believed you and
You're
left
welcome. Thank you.
thinking that you had done him right.
Appreciate that.
I would have. I
Did that-
believe that I sat down with Arthur Badger, and I know that I misled Arthur Badger, and I'm sure at some point during that conversation that I looked him in the eye.
Going back to States 333, you remember Hakeem Pinckney? Do you remember him?
I do.
What happened to him?
He was injured in the same
Now you
wreck
got
that
two shows
Natasha
to watch.
Thomas was injured in.
Got a replay and this one.
Was he badly injured?
He was.
Thank you.
How badly injured was he?
Yes, I mean, he was terribly injured. He became a, I can't remember what level, but he was a quadriplegic.
He was.
Remember what
He does have a
recovery
terrible
amount
one.
was for him?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
All right. Well, let me show you States 333 and see what the total, if you recall, what the total recovery was in that case.
It looks like it was $10,245,000.
And that was for Hakeem, correct?
That's correct.
And how much of that was the attorney's fees that would have gone to PMPED that would have been attributable to you?
I think they have.
$98,000.
$4 million in legal fees that you would have gotten from this settlement. Is that correct?
$4,098,000. Yes, sir.
It's a
And
BC
in the
Brown.
end, that wasn't enough for you, correct? Was that enough for you?
Was that enough for me in that case?
Yeah.
I mean,
Was over $4 million in legal fees that you received that would have been attributable to you through the law firm at the end of the year, whatever it worked out to be, but you would have been credited with over $4 million in fees for that. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And was that enough for you?
Was that enough for me?
Or did you take more
Oh, no,
from...
I took monies from Hakeem Pinckney that did not belong to me, that I should not have taken.
been rendered a paraplegic?
No, sir, he was a quadriplegic,
Quadriplegic.
unfortunately.
Thank you for correcting me.
Even worse.
Yes, sir.
You ultimately take money from his mother, Pamela, as well.
I believe that I did.
You remember how much money you took from Hakeem?
No, sir, not off the top of my head, I do not.
If I told you it was over $370,000, would you agree with that?
If that's what the records show, I don't dispute that.
Do you remember how much you took from the teenager Natasha Thomas in addition to your legal fees?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
If I told you it was over $350,000, would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
Do you remember how much you took from Arthur Badger?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
If it was over $1.3 million, would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
Jeez. All right. Well, that's a good place to stop for tonight. I enjoyed it. Maybe we'll do a little bit more of that. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting trial. You guys have a good night.